Let me set the scene. It's January 28th, 2011. My mother and I are watching TV together, flipping through channels trying to find something to watch, when we stop on an episode of Friday Night SmackDown. My mother says, "I think you would like this," and we watch for a while. Instantly, I was enthralled. The match in question was honestly nothing special. It was just a traditional tag team match that would end every Friday Night SmackDown usually. Edge and Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler and WWE Champion The Miz. Now, keep in mind, I had literally never seen any wrestling before. I had no idea who Randy Orton was, no idea who Edge was, no idea who Dolph Ziggler was. I did know who The Miz was, kind of, because I used to see him on those old Paper Jams commercials. Remember Paper Jams, you know? So yeah, it was that. But I was so captivated by the entire thing. I don't even know why. The match wasn't even that good, going back and watching it 10 years later. But it just captivated my 8-year-old brain for some unknown reason. And little known to me at the time, but a decade-long obsession had just begun. The first show I ever watched was SmackDown. I didn't know there were any other shows until my mom was like, "Yeah, I think there's another show that they have called Raw." So I was like, "Oh my God, there's more wrestling to watch." So my dad tells me, because he used to pay attention to wrestling back in the Attitude Era, he goes, "Let me know if The Rock shows up, Noah. The Rock's my favorite." And I'm like, okay. Literally the first episode of Raw I ever watched just so happened to be the one where The Rock returns after 7 years of being gone. What are the odds of that? But anyways, after that, I never missed an episode of Raw or SmackDown. 8 to 10 on Mondays, 7 to 9 on Fridays. I was always on my couch watching Raw and SmackDown every single week. Easter 2011, I got my very first wrestling figure. Look, there he is. It's a basic Randy Orton. Look how little I was. So, here's that same Randy Orton figure, still in one piece. 10 years later, look at how chipped that was. That arm used to be a full tattoo sleeve. Not anymore. See the paint on his trunks really wore off there. His waist is super loose. This was my first wrestling figure, and yep, look at his hair's all missing. I used to beat these things up. I should probably mention that Randy Orton was my first ever favorite wrestler. After I learned who the faces and the heels were and which storylines were going on, I loved Randy Orton. I thought he had a killer look, loved his finisher, instantly my favorite wrestler, and he would be for the next 2 years. Now, what I didn't know back then is I had just started watching wrestling right before its second boom period that it hit, when the Summer of Punk happened after the pipe bomb and CM Punk was WWE champion. I was there. I was watching all of that as it was happening. Little 8-year-old Noah watching TV. No idea what New Japan was or any of that. But I remember I was watching the pipe bomb as it was happening, so confused what any of that meant. But I knew it was like this big thing because of how the crowd was reacting and all that. I'm like, wow, CM Punk is looking really good here. I don't know. I was in 2nd grade. Cut me some slack. About 5 years after that, I started my wrestling YouTube channel that still runs to this day. It's January 2016, and now 5 years later, we're still here. I should probably just talk about, what wrestling has given me in my life. I mean, it's given me so many memories. It's given me so much structure to my life. Even when everything in my life changed, I always had WWE there to watch and pay attention to in the best of times and the worst of times. It was weirdly comforting. Michael Cole goes on every week, the longest running weekly episodic television show in history, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, it worked for me back then. I would watch every single week. And even nowadays, if I have nothing better to do, I'll still turn on an episode of Raw. It's an episode, it's some kind of structure that you don't really see in your life very often. And it's weirdly refreshing. I owe so many of my greatest friendships and some of my greatest life skills just to wrestling. I would not know how to edit. I would not know how to do post-production whatsoever. I would not know how to use any video camera techniques at all. I would not... I probably would have saved hundreds of dollars off buying these wrestling figures, but the memories and experiences that going to SmackDown Live in 2016 and going to NXT in 2018 all gave me is something that I will treasure for the rest of my life. Anyway, I should probably wrap up this video. I just wanted to make this video honoring the 10-year anniversary of me starting to watch wrestling. I know I kind of rambled a little bit in here, but I thought it was special, so I thought I'd make a video just honoring it, and you know, it's something very important in my life, so I think it's worth celebrating. So anyway, folks, if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that jazz. I'm Wrestling Figure Mania, and I'll see you guys later.